Hi, in this video we're going to talk about normalization. We're going to talk about the process of moving from 1 to 2 to 3 NF. There's actually 6 levels of normalization, but we only ever use up to 3 levels in practice. So what is this term normalization? Well, it's a process of organising your data to reduce or eliminate redundancy in your database. And what you're trying to do is remove any kind of repetition of your data, and also to make the best use of your storage for your database. It's also a process that is used when you're moving from a flat file database, so say an Excel spreadsheet, and you're trying to create a group of interrelated tables within a relational database. So let's start off with 1NF, and then I'll have a look at the sample data. So the whole thing about 1NF, you know it's in 1NF if you have no repeating groups, all your data values are unique, and each field has a unique name. So when it says here all data values are unique, it also means that they are atomic, as in they can't be broken down any further. So for example, if you had someone with a first and a second name all in one field, that would not be atomic, because you can break it down into first name and second name. Another thing is that your table must have a primary key, or it must have a composite primary key. And if we have a look at our data, I've got 2 tables. The first one here is a student with a student number. It has their name, their address, and their gender. Then our second table is what that student is studying. And you can see that student 202, which is Joe Healy, is studying software. And if you go down again, you can see he's also studying networks. So we don't have any repeating groups in this, because we look at the top here, the student number, usually I underline that just to say that that is the primary key. There's no repetition in that row. That row is unique. And likewise with the second one here, this here, I've got them both underlined because these are the primary keys, a composite primary key for this table. And if we look through here, 202, 202, okay, so we are having repetition here. Is that row unique? Well, as we know, 202 is Joe Healy. He's studying software. And then the other row down here, well, it's actually one for networks. So it actually is unique. So it's not repetition. Each field has a unique name. Yeah, well, they're all pretty unique. There's no duplicates in that. It has a primary key. Yes, we have a primary key here, and we have a composite primary key here. So the only thing I would do is I would separate out the address, because at the moment it's not atomic, because it can be divided down into smaller tables. So I've done this already here, and I just go back in here just to explain that fully. So the only changes I've made from our original table into our table, which I would now consider in 1NF, is that I've broken the address into, just make that a bit clearer, into street number, street name, and in your city. Okay, so we're now dealing with, we're going to move from 1NF to 2NF, and these are the rules when you're doing it. The first is it must have gone through the 1NF process, which was our no repeating groups, all data value is unique, each file is a unique name, and it has a primary key. So we need to remember these when we're starting to divide up and create new tables, especially those 2. So in here, it must be in first normal form already. Okay, so it is. All non-key attributes are dependent on all parts of the primary key. So all non-key attributes. So what are the non-key attributes? Well, they're these ones here in this table, and there are these ones here. So all non-key attributes are dependent on all parts of the primary key. Okay, so generally when we're moving from 1 to 2NF, we're dealing with tables that just have composite keys. Not all your data is going to be set up like that, but this is in general what we do is we look for tables with composite keys to change them in from 1 to 2NF. So as a result, this hasn't got, every part here is dependent on this primary key, student number, so this can be thought of as being in 2NF automatically. Whereas we're going to concentrate on this table here. So the first thing is really, let's go through each one of these non-key attributes and see, are they dependent on the composite keys. Well, if we start off with course name, you can see that course name is directly related to the course code, and it's dependent on the course code, and it's not dependent on the student number at all. So the first thing we'll do is we'll take that out and put it into a separate table, and we will just remove that and just get to delete. Okay, so when we're dealing with our new table, again, if we just flick back, no repeating groups, each value is unique. Well, if I looked here, I think I saw, yeah, networks is being duplicated, so we'll just remove that. Okay, and there we are, primary key in there, and that links to this table. Okay. Now let's have a look at lecture ID. Well, when you first see that, you go, ooh, that's got a hint that the lecturer is related to the course and not to the student. So hey, I'm going to take this out too. But if you actually think about how this data is set up, I would argue that I wouldn't take that out, because it means, say for example, if I have, so that's software, this is software. So if Kyra Mckenna, which is myself, if I were to leave, would that mean then that we'd have to set up a new course? Because that teacher is directly related to the course only. So if I have a new teacher, will we have a new course? Well, no. I mean, you want to be able, that doesn't sound realistic. Your course should be able to be taught by more than one person. So really, you would say that that teacher is dependent both on the student number and the course code, because that teacher is teaching that student in this particular instance of the course. So I would actually argue to leave those in. So now we have, so lecture ID, that all links together. Date completed, that's definitely part of the instance of the course and the student, which is a unique period in time that this is occurring. And of course the grade again is associated with this event of this course and student, which is a unique row and a unique event. Okay, so I would say at the moment now, based on these rules, we are now already in 2NF. Okay, so let's move to 3NF. So we just click in here now. So that's exactly what we have. We are in 2NF, and now the rule is, well, first of all, you must have gone through the 1NF and 2NF process, and to get to 3NF, this is the next rule. Okay, so we've got all non-key attributes are not dependent on any other non-key attribute. Okay, so we figured that one out, is here is a non-key attribute. So are these dependent on any other? So is lecture ID dependent on, or should I say the lecture name dependent on the lecture ID? More so, than the student number and course code. So are they dependent on any? So all non-key attributes are not dependent on any other non-key attributes. Well, those actually are dependent on each other. So you would be right in to move from 2NF to 3NF to say, yeah, actually, I'm going to take those out. And I will put them in here. I'm losing my rule, so we'll just take this down and put it in there. Okay, so now I'm going to take that out, copy it in. Okay, so now we've separated that out. So now we just check, are any non-key attributes dependent on any other non-key attribute? So we'll check up here. Is any of this dependent on each other? Well, no, not really. Student number, yeah, that's okay. And here we are. Now, are these independent? Nope, that looks okay. That looks good, actually. Okay, so that is now in 3NF. So we've gone through from 0 to 1 to 2 and the final 3. So we just go back to our original. So we started off with this, and now we've eventually moved on to this, where we've taken out course code name when we move from 1 to 2, and we've taken out lecture when we moved out from 2 to 3. Okay, thank you.